My name's Jenny Zelig, and I sometimes go by New Uke, New York on certain parts of social media. I am here to create another video teaching a skill or a song or an arrangement on ukulele, and this is part of my one-take tutorial series in which I present these concepts to you in sort of live streaming workshop format that I record and then upload. And also, this is part of a series that I started yesterday on transposing songs, changing the key, changing the chords to suit your voice on ukulele. Of course, if you're not interested in singing along to your playing, you can also use these same skills to work on songs just to change the key for ease of playing. So it doesn't have to just be about singing, but that is kind of the angle that I'm going for in these videos. If you haven't watched part one and you're watching this video, I will mention that this is sort of a follow-up to part one, in which I introduce the topic of why you would transpose and why the chords on the sheet might not work for you vocally and or in terms of your playing skill. And I demonstrated as part of that workshop, I demonstrated the song I'll Fly Away in 5 different keys and encouraged you to sing along and play along if you like, and to think about what key fit your voice the best. Now, in the subsequent videos in this series, I thought it was going to be a 3-part series, but I think now it's going to be 4. In the next 2 videos, I'm going to break down how to transpose. So we're going to get more into the nitty-gritty of tools and websites and ways you can do it in your own brain, and how you can think about the fretboard or the piano keyboard or the circle of fifths and all kinds of stuff like that. But for this video, it's really part 1B, where I want to show you a little bit more of finding the key that suits your voice and your playing level and how those two things intermix. And to do that, I'm going to demonstrate it using the website that is called Ultimate Guitar, right? I'm just double checking that, yes. UltimateGuitar.com, which you can also get as an app on your smartphone or your tablet, that I believe comes up on your screen as being called tabs. That's what it looks like on mine anyway. And we're going to look at the song Somewhere Over the Rainbow, specifically the is version, but we're not going to look at the whole song. What we're going to do is look through each key and sort of play part of it and talk about what it means to both your singing and your playing, the different keys that we're looking at it. And it's really just an extension of what we did with I'll Fly Away in the first video. So if you are satisfied with what we did in I'll Fly Away, you can actually skip this video and go on to video 3 when I make that one and post it, or if it's already been posted, you'll see it next in the playlist. If you're watching this from the transposition playlist that I created, which I will also link to in the description box. But I'm going to share the screen here and show you the chords. And we're going to start in the key of C, because that's where a lot of ukulele players start with this song, because it is generally the easiest key to play in. So you see here the chords, C, E minor, A minor, F, G. We're going to skip this add 9 chord because it's really just in the intro and I don't see it in most ukulele chord sheets. So you can certainly play it and it may be very similar to what is does, but we're not going to be playing it for the purposes of this exercise. And it gets harder, you'll see, as we change keys, and E7. So fairly beginner chords. Those are all pretty easy to play. They may not be all the, the first 7 chords you learn, but they're going to be, in your first 15 chords or so, you're going to learn all of those. And I actually think it's really interesting that this website, which is technically for guitarists but does have an ukulele function, is showing me a 2-finger version of E minor that I've never thought about playing before. So that's kind of interesting. You can play the familiar 3-finger version or this 2-finger version. They'll both work as an E minor. So we're looking at this in C, as I said, because that's where it is in a lot of songbooks and song sheets for ukulele players, because it is the easiest key to play it in. But it's not the easiest key to sing it in, and I know that because I play it with my group when we meet online and also in person, and a lot of people complain that this is too high for them. And so we talked a little bit in the first video about how to navigate that, and we talked about singing up the octave and down the octave. And we can demonstrate that in this video a little more, and I did some of it in the first video as well. But the other thing that makes this song a good one to look at is the relatively high internal range of the song. So no matter what range your voice has, which is the lowest note that you can sing comfortably to the highest note you can sing comfortably, that's your range, and it can change over the course of a lifetime or even over the course of a day. but the song has a fixed internal range. Depending on how you interpret it, you can tweak it a little bit with your interpretation, but as written, the song's going to have a lowest note and a highest note, and finding a song's key in part depends on where your vocal range overlaps with that song's range. So even just looking at the first 4 lines of Somewhere Over the Rainbow, the way that Is sang it, you see the chords change, but inside those chords are the notes that we would be singing. And if you start on that high C, so you can start 2 places. You can start on the low C and then jump up to the high C, because there's an octave jump in this song, especially as Judy Garland sang it. Or you can start on the low C and stay down there, which is called singing down the octave, which I talked about in the first video. But let's just try it up top first and see how high it goes just in those first 4 lines. Let's see, here we go. 1, 2, 3, 4. Somewhere over the rainbow, way up high. And now this note is going to be the lowest note in these lines. And the dreams that you dream of once in a lullaby. So you hear me kind of straining at the top there. Again, this isn't my best key for this song, but it is one that a lot of people will play it in. So there's also vocal flourishes you do later in the song, or that Is did, that would take you even higher than that. So that's not even the highest this song goes. But you heard there's a lower note on the and there's higher notes at the beginning and the end. And yes, part of that is due to interpretation, and you could sing it all lower, but still trying to fit it into your range might involve some transposition or some changing of the key in order to change the chords, in order to change the notes that you're singing. So now let's see if we can sing it down the octave. So I'm going to start on this low C, and I'm going to stay down there, and it's very quickly going to get too low for my voice, but we'll just see what it sounds like. And maybe it'll be perfect for your voice if you're singing along. This note, way up high, and this one I won't be able to hit. And the dreams that you dream of once in a so you see, if I sing it down the octave in C, the high notes are comfortable for me, but the low notes go super low, and I would wreck my voice if I sang a lot like that. So that's outside of my ability to do, but your voice is different from mine, and so maybe one of those was really comfortable for you. There are certainly people with higher voices than me, and people with lower voices, and people with wider ranges than me, and people who are more warmed up while they're singing. So what you can do on this Ultimate Guitar website is automatically transpose if the chords have been formatted correctly, which occasionally they haven't been. But as long as they've been formatted correctly, all these little grayed out chords, and you see if you hover over them, it'll show you the shape they recommend as well. You can go up or down to make it higher or lower. And whether you want to go up or down, it goes in a circle. Eventually you'll come back to C again. You can go either direction. But if I'm trying to sing down the octave, I'm going to want to go up. If I'm trying to sing up the octave, I'm going to want to go down. Like if it feels too high for me, however I'm singing it, I want to go down. If it feels too low for me, I want to go up. So let's just say you were singing it the way I first sang it, and that was too high for you. And we'll go around in the circle. So we'll come back if you actually want to go the other direction. I'll put in timestamps so you can skip ahead to that. But we're going to go down because I want to sing it up the octave, but that was too high for me. So now look at this as the key of B, and we can come back up here and this list of chords has changed, and to a lot of people these are not the chords you want to play. B can be a little familiar to more advanced beginners. E is not a chord anybody loves, but look at that D sharp minor. That's not a chord we play a lot. It's kind of like an E flat, but it's a little different. There's also this G sharp minor, and that's not a shape I play very often at all. F sharp is a good chord shape to know, as I mentioned in the first video. That's the most familiar here for me. And then you've got, we're skipping the add 9, remember, and then you've got a D sharp 7, so that's like the D7. That's not as hard. But this is not a key most ukulele players would choose to play in. But let's just, for the sake of hearing it in our voice, let's just give it a try. So we're on the B to start with. Oops, let me scroll up a little more so we can see the whole thing. There we go. You know what? Let's just strum single strums on this so that you have time to set up your next shape, and I do too. But you also, let me tilt this down a little bit, but you also can concentrate more on the singing than the playing, because I don't want you to feel like I have to learn these chords immediately. If you can't play the chords too, just don't play them and sing along and see what works for your voice, and let me play the chords. So I'm going to start up. So will be my starting note. We'll try up the octave first. Somewhere over the rainbow, way up high, and the dreams that you dream of once in a lullaby. And I already lost where this one was on the page. Oh, there we go. Bye. All right, the G sharp minor is not a fun chord to play. So that sounded a little better in my voice because I came down a half step, and we call it a half step because we're going to the accidental here. So it's actually just a half step from C to B. And then that'll make more sense in another video when I show you the piano keyboard. Or if it doesn't, you can just ignore it because you don't need to know that to compose, or transpose, sorry, or compose. So that was with it in B. And now let's try it down the octave, which again is going to be too low for me because I've already tried it. And I'm going even lower. Somewhere. Yeah, so it's going to start there. Somewhere over the rainbow, up high, super low here. Oops, I played the wrong chord. And the dreams that you dream of, super low. Let's see, did I play that right? Yes. All right, one of the benefits of me making this video may be that I finally learned my A flat minor or G sharp minor chord. So for me, again, that lower one is a no-go, and I'm not even going to attempt the next few down the octave because it's going to be way too low for me. But hopefully you hear if that, you know, down the octave was actually comfortable for you, you may want to try singing lower while I sing higher and see how it sounds for you. So let's take it down another half step. Now we're in the key of A sharp, which is B flat. So now I'm going to be starting on that note. So let's look at this. We've got, oh, look at the chords up above. We've got an A sharp, which is B flat, D minor, G minor, D sharp, which is also known as E flat. So that's another problem with this website, is it doesn't always name the chords what you as an ukulele player would think of the chord as, but it's the same chord. We're going to skip the add 9, and then you've got a regular D7. So these are kind of like just next door to beginner. Like the very beginning beginners may not be playing all these chords, but they're not terribly difficult, and it's the B flat shape is the hardest. So again, if you can't play these chords, just skip them and sing along with me. 1, 2, 3, 4. Somewhere over the rainbow, way up high, and the dreams that you dream of once in a lullaby. That's getting much more comfortable for my voice. May not be right for your voice. You may want to take it even lower. Let's try it even lower. Let's go down to A. So here we look at the chords. This is not, for me, the easiest shape for C sharp minor. I like to do the barred C sharp minor up here. Let's find it here. Oh yeah, on the 4th fret you bar across, and then you put your ring finger on the 6th fret of your G string. That's where I like to play my C sharp minor, but you should play whatever C sharp you want, or C sharp minor, or don't play it at all. F sharp minor is an easy enough chord to play if you can play G7. It's the same shape. There's another E in this one though too, which a lot of ukulele players are trying to avoid, and C sharp 7, you see, is just your D7 move down to the 1st and 2nd fret. So again, if you can't play these chords, don't play them, just sing. Just think about how your voice interacts with this key. 1, 2, 3, 4. Somewhere over the rainbow, way up high, and the dreams that you dream of once in a lullaby. I played the C sharp minor wrong. I played a C sharp instead of the C sharp minor, but the key was still correct, that mistake notwithstanding. So for me, gosh, that felt so much better than any of the keys we've done previously. A might be my key for this song. I'm not sure I have done it in A before. I'll have to look back and see when I've recorded this what key I've done it in. But for my particular level of playing, it's also, the chords aren't too bad. I don't love E, but I can play it, and I can play all these shapes when I do the C sharp minor correctly. If you're playing this with the add 9, that would be a weird shape, but you could get it if you're up at that level. So for me, A is great. Again, I know I can't go down the octave because it's already starting to go into my lower range a little bit, and so I can't go all the way down. But if you wanted to try it, instead of going some, you start somewhere over the rainbow. This is already too low for me. Up high. So you can sing down the octave while someone else is singing up the octave and still be in perfect harmony. So if you can figure out, if you don't already know, and this is starting to help you, when I don't go down the octave, you can still sing along down the octave, even if I'm up at the top of the octave. It's just getting outside of my range to be able to demonstrate for you. Okay, so now I'm taking it down another half step to see when it starts to get too low for me at the top of the octave. So now we've got a G sharp here. So you see, I like to play this one barred. So there's a G sharp. That's not it's a different shape than they're showing here. Yes, so I like to bar across the 3rd fret and then put my F shape right next to it, if that makes sense. Again, if that doesn't make sense, that's not what this video is about. Just skip it. So you've got a G sharp, you've got a C minor, and it's fine to play the G string even though it shows it X'd out there. F minor's not an easy chord for a lot of people. C sharp, which I played erroneously in the last one. D sharp is E flat, and C7. This one, again, not the most friendly chords for ukulele players, especially if you're a beginner, but for some people, these would be not really a big deal. This is my starting note now. And actually, you can hear that note. It's in the chord that I'm playing some. Right now, it's on the A string. E string, sorry, not the A string, the E string. 3rd fret, no, 4th fret. It's contained in that G sharp chord. 4th fret of the E string. Okay, 1, 2, 3, 4. Somewhere over the rainbow, way up high, and the dreams that you dream of once in a lullaby. It's hard to do the bar chords on this instrument. I hadn't picked up this Waterman in a while, so I thought it'd be fun to do with this video. I should have picked one that was easier to fret on. All right, so not the easiest chords, and if you don't like bar chords, that's not going to be easy for you at all. Also, if you're singing it down the octave, then some, that's the note you'd start on, somewhere over the rainbow, way up high. you hear? Too low for me, maybe not for you. So I can still sing all of those notes though. Up the octave, it hasn't dropped too low for me. So let's take it down another. Going from G sharp to G. Now here we've got, I want to go back to our regular G shape here. We've got a G, oops, it was showing me a more complicated pattern because I changed it in one of the other keys. I didn't realize it would do that, so that's good to know. We've got a regular G, a regular B minor, which is a bar chord. You can play the 2 or 3 finger E minor. C, hooray, everybody's favorite, although they're showing here as C6 actually. I'm not sure why they're showing that. Because that's like an A minor 7 shape with no strings pressed on. I'm going to play the regular C with the 3rd fret. And a D and a B7, which this is an alternate shape of B7. You can also play a barred like this. On the 2nd fret. I don't know why they write it like that because it makes it look like a B flat 7. But this is the E minor shape and that's also a B7. So whatever's easier for you, you can do. Again, it's just not about how to play the chords, but I can't help but help you with that a little bit. I'm coming out of tune on my instrument. All right, so let's just try this for the key. So we're going to start on, it's still on the E string. Our starting note is now the 3rd fret. It's going down a half fret when we go down a half step on the key. Some, that's our starting note. And it's contained in that G chord. 1, 2, 3, 4. Somewhere over the rainbow, way up high, and the dreams that you dream of once in a lullaby. All right, so we're at G, which is another key that a lot of ukulele players really like because the chords, besides that B minor, are pretty simple. They're pretty possible for us to play. And because it's often a key that a lot more people can sing in. So you'll often see songs either in C or G. And I mentioned this in video 1, that if you see it in C but it doesn't work for you, it's too low or too high, try G. I would try G first. And if you see it in G but it doesn't work for you, it's too low or too high, try C. Because those are the two, after we've gone down all the way from C to G, those are the two that have been easiest really to play and probably have the widest appeal for the most players and singers. Your mileage may vary in your group or with your own personal voice, but they're going to cover more people a lot of the time in a lot of songs, C or G. So that's a good place to start often if you're in C or G already, or you think you are, because again, like I said, you can't always tell what key you're in easily. That's a place to start. Now let's go down another half step. This is going to start to get too low for me because I could hear that in G, it already was starting to get a little too low. Now I happen to know that Cynthia Lynn teaches this song to beginners in the key of C and then to slightly more advanced players in the key of G, because again, those seem like the two most accessible keys, and also if C is too high for you, it is much easier to sing it in G. But G is starting to get too low for my personal voice. So you can let me know in the comments what your best key was, but let's try it in F sharp, which is another half step down. Now we're on the 2nd, the starting note is in the F sharp, it's on the 2nd fret of the E string. You see here you've got an A sharp or B flat minor, you've got an E flat minor, you've got a B, a C sharp, and an A sharp 7. None of those are particularly fun to play, and they're almost all bar chords. So they are all bar chords, so except for this B add 9, which you could also play as a bar chord. So let's play this one slowly and see how it goes. Okay, 1, 2, 3, 4. Somewhere over the rainbow, way up high. Not too bad so far, but it's gonna go lower here. And the dreams that you dream of once in a lullaby. was such a relief for me to go back up. It's getting a little low for me. Again, if you're singing that down the octave, you have a much lower voice than me. Some. I can sing that starting note, but you'd be going somewhere over the rainbow. It's quite low. Again, if you have a deep voice, that may be where you need to sit, but that would be in the same key as me singing higher. Now, we're going to get into, again, where I start to sound bad at the top of the octave by going down one more to F. Now, there are a lot of songs I love in F. I actually play in F a lot. It did require me to learn the B flat, as I mentioned in the first video. But you've got F, A minor, D minor, B flat, C, and A7. Most of the chords in F are not too difficult, and I often like singing in F. But now, this song will not be right for me in F, and let's just hear why and see if it's right for you. 1, 2, 1, 2, 3, 4. Somewhere over the rainbow, way up high, and the dreams that you dream of once in a lullaby. So, I think this is a great example of how it can be so different from song to song, because in many songs that don't have a note as low as this opening of this song does, I would be so comfortable and happy singing an F. But because it drops to that low note that is not great for me in the key of F, this isn't my key in this song. But in many other songs, F is a great key for my voice. So again, it's going to be very personal to you what feels good and sounds good. Sometimes even a listener might think one sounds better, but the other one feels better to you. So it is some trial and error that you're going to have to do. And again, if you're singing it down the octave, again, you have a much lower voice than me. And instead of some, you'd start on that note. Somewhere. And you can go back with the timestamps and play any of these that I didn't sing down the octave with me as I'm singing up the octave, if that's helpful to you. I wish that I had a person with a really low voice here with me to demonstrate those, but I just won't be able to do most of the notes. So let's look at down another one. Most ukulele players will avoid the key of E because of the E chord, so we don't often play in it, and so these other chords look usually pretty unfamiliar too. Like, again, here's a G sharp minor. There's a C sharp minor, which again, I'm going to play a different way. I'm going to play like this. There's an A, a B, we've played those already, and a G sharp 7. Yeah, it's for some reason, I like to play the G sharp 7, like my G7 scooted forward, but that's not how it shows it here. It shows it different. So you can play it however, yeah, I like to play it like this. But again, this is not about how to play the chords, Jenny. Don't make these teaching moments. All right. So now our starting note has dropped to the C string because we've continued to go down. So going from F to E is a half step, and now our starting note, it's still in that E chord. It's the 3rd fret on the C string. So, all right, we already know this is going to be too low for me in both versions, but let's do it anyway, so you can sing along. Oh, and that G sharp minor, I'm going to see how quickly I can get to it. I may just do that on a, I may do that. It is the G minor shape scooted up and then your index finger on the G 1st fret. It's just hard for me to wrap my brain around because I never play this chord. So we'll see how quickly I can do that. Okay. 1, 2, 3, 4. Somewhere over the rainbow, way up high, and the dreams that you dream of once in a lullaby. Oh wait, that's a C sharp minor. Bye. live streaming here. There's going to be mistakes. But that is what it sounds like. And again, if you want to go back and sing it down the octave with me, you'd start down there, somewhere. All right, let's take it down another step. We're getting closer to C. If you didn't realize it, we're working our way back down to C. There's just a couple of keys left. This is D sharp or E flat, going down a half step from E. Again, that is the 3rd fret of the C string is our starting note. So it just moves down another half step, our starting note. And we've got, let's see, we've got a regular G minor here, which is easier for me than the G sharp minor. There's a C minor here, a G sharp, which again, I will play barred, but you should play it however it works for you. A sharp is B flat, they're the same. And then G7, let's go back to our familiar G7, there it is. So not the easiest chords either, and probably not the best key for most people, but let's hear it. 1, 2, 3, 4. Somewhere over the rainbow, way up high. Here comes the low one, and I can't hit it. Oh, I forgot to change my chord. The dreams that you dream of once in a lullaby. Oh my goodness, we're really getting into bad ranges for me, bad keys for me. Okay, so this is the first key where I can't even hit the starting note if you're singing it down the octave. So you have to let me know. I'm really curious to see if anybody has a voice that low that was the best key for you and singing it down the octave. Please tell me. All right, so now we go down another half step, and we're at D. We have this one and D flat or C sharp are the last two, and then we'll be back at C. So it goes in a big circle, right? I could have done the same thing by going up. I just went down because my starting point felt too high for me. So I backed it down until I found that I really liked it in A. That would be my preferred key. Again, I hope I'll hear yours in the comments. But this key, we've got a D, we've got an F sharp minor. Again, that's the same shape as G7, just in a different place. Here is the more familiar B minor, if you're gonna play B minor. There's of course an easier G to play, there you go. The A, and then F sharp 7 is such an interesting chord. Let's see if we've got, there we go. If you play your F7 shape on the 2nd fret, you're playing F sharp 7. So that's how I would approach it, is this shape number 3. All right, so we move the starting note half step down or 1 fret down. It is now the 2nd fret of the C string. 1, 2, 3, 4. This one I can't do either. The dreams that you dream of once All right. So now, even singing at the top of the octave for me, again, it's too low. I could try to go another octave above that, but since I already know C's a little high for my taste, I can hit the notes, but I don't really want to. I'm not going to try to go a whole step above the C up the octave again. So because on a piano, there's, I don't know how many, 6, 7, 8 different octaves. I put a link in the first video on a website that talks more about how many octaves you get on different instruments. And so there are lots of octaves, and depending on your range, you may be able to hit way more of them than me. I'm, no Mariah Carey when it comes to my range. But that's something that you can play around with. And if you have access to a piano keyboard, or if you use one of the free piano keyboards online, it can be kind of fun to see what is actually your range, from how low and how high you have the option of going. Don't injure yourself doing that. Try to, warm up and do it responsibly, and don't blast out your vocal cords. But it can be fun to see where your voice sits. Again, like F, D is often a great key for me, but this song goes too low for me to sing it comfortably in D. So that means this song also goes too low for me to sing it comfortably one more half step down in C sharp. Again, I'm going down, so I'm going lower, and even at the top of the octave for this key, for how I've been doing this each in a row, it's going to be too low. So here you've got a C sharp, an F minor, a B flat minor or A sharp minor, an F sharp, a G sharp. These are not ideal for most people. You can scroll through these and try to find an easier fret, but for example, if I'm playing the G up at the 11th fret, that's going to sound weird to most people, or even the 8th fret. It's going to be super high. I don't really want to play my G up there. So G sharp rather. Let's go back down to where I'm going to play it. I'm going to play it as a bar chord on there it is, 3rd fret. So it's G sharp or A flat. That is a good chord to know, and that's a good shape to know, because you can move it around the keyboard. You can actually play that bottom G string too, it's okay. That's your A flat. And then your F7, which we just played an F sharp 7 in the last one, so it's just back down on the 1st fret. All right, so these are not the keys, the chords rather, most ukulele players would choose, even if this is the perfect key for your voice. And we will talk about tools for transposing that can mean you get to play easier chord shapes in the next video. I said we'd talk about it in this video, but that was before I knew I was making an intermediate video where we just went through this song. All right, so song. We're still on the C string for our starting note. We went down another half step to the 1st fret of the C string, and it's in the chord we're playing. Song. All right, so let's try this. 1, 2, 3, 4. Somewhere over the rainbow, up high. I just have to pretend. The dreams you dream of once above. I forgot what I was playing here. And that's one, again, I just showed you another one of the limitations of this website, is because they put A sharp minor instead of B flat minor. I couldn't remember how to do an A sharp minor, even though I played B flat minor 100 times and it's the same chord. So sometimes it's nice to have a chord sheet that you can edit yourself, so that you can use the familiar name that you know it as. Instead of saying D sharp, you can write E flat, or instead of saying A sharp, you can write B flat, because that's how most of us learn them as ukulele players. Of course, it's great for your brain to be able to flip between the two, and I can do it, but with a little hesitation, as you just saw. All right, so if we went one more half step down, we would arrive back at C. And that was what I wanted to demonstrate for you for this video. I wanted to go through all the keys and look at how the chords changed, and some are harder and some are easier, and some are a lot of bar chords and some are not very many or any bar chords at all. And I wanted to look at that in order so you could see them change. So what I will often do if I'm trying to figure out how to play a song, and let me reset all these back to 1, is I will go to a website like this. There's a couple different websites, and we'll talk about it in another video, a couple of examples. There's a couple different websites where you can automatically transpose like this with a button. And I will just kind of flip through to see, oh, what looks more and less playable to me at my particular level. So you'll have a different answer than me. What chords do I really want to avoid right now? What looks good? And then, you know, if it's, again, I might try the G, C flip-flop if it's in one, and I might try the other. And then I'll think about, okay, if that didn't work, I'll think, well, okay, the song's in D, but I need it to be lower, so let me go down and look at what gets easier. And then I'll just pick one and I'll try it. And that's the trial and error that I wanted to show you in this video, is it takes some time And it may mean you either have to decide, I have to learn this or that chord, or maybe even a couple of chords, or I have to get a capo, which I will talk about in a future video, or I just can't do it in this perfect key for my voice if I'm the one playing. That can be possible sometimes too. And sometimes you'll find that this is not yet within my reach, but it will be, because all it takes is practice. All of these skills just take practice. And I'm not the perfect player. I've got a long way to go with my practice too, and this was not the right instrument for me to choose for this video today, because the action was a little high and it was a little hard for me to do my fretting. But at the same time, like, you only have to do single strums and hear where your voice falls in that key. It can be tricky if you don't have the ability to figure out your starting note. You may need to find a very familiar key, even if it's not the key you want to sing it in, and then go down half step by half step and inch your finger back along the frets. And you can usually find it in that starting chord, but not always, to find your starting note. So like if you're singing it in G, and your starting note is this note in the C string, la, then if you go down a half step, your starting note should be one fret behind it, la. Now that's the next one, la. You'll go down in half step or fret increments, but that's as low as the instrument goes. So you may have to look at a, online piano or something if it's not working in your ear. But the more you sing songs, and some of you will already have the ability just to hear where your starting note's supposed to be in a familiar song, the more you play, the more you sing, these kinds of things can be sort of innately ingrained in you, and you don't need to know music theory to hit the right note, but practicing and playing songs that are really familiar to you, that you know what the starting note would be, because like you could sing that song in the shower even with no accompaniment, you know it so well. And then finding the key that you sing it in the shower can be the tricky part, but is doable too. So hopefully that was helpful. I tried to make that video a little shorter than my last one, which was about 45 minutes, and I'm going to split the next section, which is how to physically transpose, both tools you can use and also ways you can use your brain, depending on how much of a math workout you want it to be. It's the fun kind of math. It's music math. I mean, I like math too, but I'm better at the music math than I am at the numbers math. So go ahead and come back for parts 3 and 4 once I get them recorded, or if they're already up on YouTube, watch them next, or whenever you have time. Use the timestamps to skip around to what you want to see in each of the videos. Leave me comments below, especially if I haven't finished the series yet, of what you're hoping that I will still talk about. I've made a lot of promises and I've kept notes, and I'm hoping I will still make it to all of them. Oh, there was one other thing I wanted to mention in this video. So here's your bonus thing. I saw a great question on Facebook and made me want to answer it. So in a more formal way. Someone asked on Facebook, and this is related to something I talked about in video 1, where someone had asked, do I need to retune my instrument because my voice is lower and this is a high instrument, I'm playing on a high G. I saw someone say, don't I need a low G instrument if my voice is lower? And the interesting thing is you do not, because the chords are the same. It's just that they will have one note that's an octave lower. So I've got my low G here to demonstrate this for you. This is high G tuning, G, C, E, A. It's that re-entrant, my dog has fleas tuning. This is the low G tuning tenor that I have. G, C, E, A, low, which means that you get a few extra notes that you can pluck or pick, because your G is lower than your middle C, or your C note, sorry, middle C is a piano term. So you've got an octave between the high G and the low G. But the actual, say, C chord or any other chord is in the same place. The high note is the same, the low note is just an octave apart. La could be my starting note, and la would be my starting note for this song as well. This is just a made-up song. Or if it was Somewhere Over the Rainbow, sa, or sa. Or if I'm singing down the octave, some, or some. So the instrument sounds lower because it has a lower bottom note. There's more bass to it. But the actual notes I would sing depend more on what key I'm in and whether I'm singing up the octave or down the octave. So whether I'm starting on that top C or the low C. Getting a low G ukulele, there's lots of great reasons to get it, but you having a lower voice won't that won't be helped by getting a low G. You might just think it sounds better to sing with your voice along with a low G. That's cool. But it won't actually help you hit the notes because it's not like retuning or transposing to just switch from high G to low G. So I wanted to demonstrate that while I had the low G out. I'm going to pull my baritone out for one of our future videos and talk more about these concepts. So again, thank you so much for watching. Thank you, especially if you watch video 1 and video 2. Amazing. I don't pretend to think that everyone would need everything I say in both of these videos or in all of these videos. So if you're skipping around, that's cool too. But I do want to thank my patrons from the bottom of my heart for giving me support. Many people for month after month. Some people just drop in for a month or two. I appreciate it all. It helps me take time away from my day jobs to do the ukulele teaching that I actually really love to do, and to write new arrangements and prepare new songs to share with people, and to do my play-alongs, which I actually have one in an hour as I'm recording this, so I need to get offline and get prepared for that. If you haven't joined one of our play-alongs, they're free. You can join me on Zoom for some of them and on YouTube for others. Patrons can always join me on Zoom. But even if you, as I said in the last video, even if you never become a patron, I thank you for watching this video, and I hope you will let me know what was the perfect key for you for Somewhere Over the Rainbow, and what key do you wish you could play better because you would have liked to sing it in that key but you can't play the chords yet. That would be cool to know too. But otherwise, I will see you in the next one, and I again thank you so much for watching. I know you have lots of options for ukulele content on the internet, and I appreciate you being here for this one. See you on the internet.